Hi everyone, it's Rhonda and I'm here today to share with you the Pretty Perennials Stamp-A-Stack. So I am going to try it this way and I'm going to go ahead and make our card today and open our packet and show you everything that you got. And then hopefully we'll keep the video a little bit shorter. Hopefully it'll be something that I can upload and you'll be able to access on your own computer or just at least on a device, and then be able to stop and pause as you need in order to finish your project. So today we are doing the Pretty Perennials. And this class is designed as a Stamp-A-Stack. So you're gonna make the same card times 10. That's a stack of the same. We are using the Pretty Perennials stamp set. You have the option to get that with your class or have it at home. We also have the coordinating dies. And so I have die cut several pieces for you. But if you're stamping and cutting out flowers, it'd be convenient to have the dies. Otherwise, you can always fussy cut, so not a problem. So this is the stamp set and the dies. So those are a bundle available through June 30th at 10% off with your bundle pricing. It is retiring and won't be available going into the new catalog. So you want to get that while you can. An accessory item that I did use was the Stitch So Sweetly dies. I used this die cut piece in here, so that's where one of your layering pieces comes from, just to show that with you. And then we also used, let's see, for inks, the main card I did focused with Coastal Cabana, your Granny Apple Green for your leaves, and then your Tuxedo Black for some accessory stamping. One of the first and easiest ways to change this entire class up is to go ahead and get out different color ink pads, because then your cards will all feel different. So pull out your favorites, and everything that I gave you is in black and white, so you'll be able to coordinate without any worries. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my stamps aside for a minute. You were emailed the PDF, which has both the instructions. So you have close-up and the full-size card for this project, because there's one main card. So you have your supplies that were used, your measurements, and then you also have your stamping instructions. So this is a new format that I'm using, where you get the PDF instruction portions. And then with the Stamp-A-Stack, I'm trying to give you a couple of alternate designs. So I've given you a little bit of notes here, changing the colors of the ink pads, etc. Different things with bows, so I'll have you go ahead and read that. But then I did showcase 3 different samples, all made from the same supplies that I sent you. And then on the back, you have the supply list. So this is a tool that I pay for and use, and I can upload all of the items that I used in the class. So you won't have all of these items out in front of you because I've done some of the work for you, but this is your master list for supplies, or if you're looking to purchase anything after the class that you didn't think you wanted, but now you need. So anyhow, you should have received that in your email, and that will be the email that you signed up for my class with. So we'll go ahead and have that handy. And then in your fun packet, you received a packet like this that's labeled. Okay, so this one doesn't have it. Yours is like folded over so that I kind of kept everything from being able to dump out. But this is what they look like if you're coming to class here. So all of your make and takes are in here. And that'll be your project pieces. And then you also got a swag bag. So the swag bag is usually somewhere between $15 and $20 pre-tax product. So you have your tax and shipping. This time you got the black matte dots embellishment. And you also got the black glittered organdy ribbon, a whole spool. So you'll have those 2 items to use to decorate your cards with. And then if you look inside this packet, just be careful to dump everything right on the top of your desktop. So the first thing you're gonna notice is you have these little packets. So these are all of your black die cut pieces. Be careful when you open it, because there are 10 of each and only 10 of each. You have your white die cut pieces, so there's that layer that we did. These are off the Perennials dies as well. So you have 10 of each of these. These are the black and white. And then you have your 10 card bases, and that's a 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and this is the white thick. That's what I use for the bases. And then you're gonna have a packet of these, which are your black panel layers. And then another one, this is the regular weight white for your white panel layers that you'll stamp on. So this is 10, 10, 10, 10 of each. You've got your 10 envelopes, so everything in there to make your Stamp-A-Stack of 10 cards. And then I just find it easier sometimes with this to go ahead and do your stamping. Whoops, let me get these in here all at once. So you've got 2 half sheets of cardstock. It's the easiest way for me to get you cardstock. So you have 2 half sheets, and that's what you'll stamp your items that you're gonna die cut out on. If you stray and you know you need more paper, just grab white out of your stash. I'm sure that we all have white in our stash. So that was your packet and your swag. So let me go ahead and set those out of our way. And then let's see. I'm gonna pull in my pieces here. Because this stamp set is a photopolymer, which is the clear see-through, you will wanna have a stamping mat underneath you because these images do not have the red foam, raised foam, or the red rubber, like the gray foam underneath it. It's the photopolymer, it mounts straight to the block. Love the photopolymer, but you do wanna have a Stampin' Pearson mat under there to give yourself some cushion. If you find that your photopolymer images aren't turning out, it's probably because you forgot your mat. It's the easiest thing, happens to all of us. So, and then you just want to have a few images stamped and ready to go. So I'm gonna just pull over, I'm gonna have a card base. And I'm just gonna walk through the one card, which is the featured card, and then I will show you in person the other cards just so you can see them up live. So we've got one of those, one of those. We are gonna have one top layer panel, and then we've got our little accessory pieces. So we have our little layer, we have our leaves, we have the outline floral layer, we have the splatter center, and then we have the little tiny white floral center. And all of this is optional. That's how I designed the first card, and so those are the pieces that I went ahead and die cut and sent you. And it's up to you, you can use them however you like. So I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna bring this in. I'm not gonna mount anything yet. I'm just gonna take this white panel layer and I'm gonna come over here, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Memento Black and I'm gonna ink up my happy. Whoops, sorry, I might be shaking the table. I'm pressing kind of hard to get some good ink on this greeting. And then we're just gonna come down here in the lower third. So let me go ahead and move this up, make sure I'm on camera for you. So I'm kind of centered here in that lower third. And you just wanna go down, give it a good firm pressure, let that ink soak in for a second, and then lift straight up. And then you've got your chamois over here to the side. You can clean that off. And then just so this has a second to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and come in here on a scrap piece of paper, and I'm gonna get my Coastal Cabana ink, and I'm gonna use the large floral. So I'm gonna get that nice and juicy and good and solid ink. And if you feel like it, go ahead and test it on your blotter page, whatever you're using. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna stamp that straight down, and you can kind of see it go whoosh. Just letting that ink soak in and then get a nice impression. But that's gonna need to dry for a minute. It looks kind of green in the camera, but trust me, it's Coastal Cabana. So we're gonna go ahead and set that one aside. We will use the die cut to cut that out. Let me just grab that so I have it handy. And that's gonna be this one. So it's just gonna, when you flip it over, you'll just line it up if you have it, and it will cut that out for us once it dries. But I'm just gonna set it there for now. And then we're gonna bring back in the piece that we're working from. And the first thing I wanna do is I'm gonna show you the card. So I don't know if I'm zoomed in. I tried to stay zoomed in so you could see me stamp. So if I'm too close, we'll have to work on that for the next time. So this is the piece that we just stamped. I'll have to die cut that flower out. So in the background with this monochromatic card, we have these florals. So I'm gonna kind of eyeball where I think I'm gonna put my tag, visualize that for a minute, and then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna grab the small floral and you're just gonna work your way. Now make sure you know where your pad is there. You're gonna work your way with good firm impressions up and down, and you can rotate. This is like good old school stamping. Just rotate, you know, kind of your ink pad as you go around. Watch your corners. If you really, you know, have a small image on a big block, you're gonna pick up some of that residual ink. Oops, I'm not on camera there, sorry about that. You're gonna pick up some of that residual ink. So you can either wipe that corner across your chamois and get rid of it. And then you're just gonna, and I did all of these to be the full impression. I did not stamp off with this floral, okay? So that's kind of what I have. And now I've got a little smudge there, so we'll just go ahead and fix that smudge by putting another little leaf over in the corner. And now one of the other things that we're gonna just kind of still hold that in kind of where you think, you know, you might place it. So this one might be lost under there, but that's okay. Now I've taken this little tiny, kind of looks like the dots. I've got a little string or something on there. So I'm gonna wipe that off, try again. This one we are gonna do primarily stamped off. And that just gives us a second tone of color with the same ink pad. And we're gonna go around and we're just gonna kind of, you know, like here again, kind of keep in mind, maybe I want one kind of coming down out of those letters. Doesn't have to be in between every floral, like we'll take one off the edge there. But it just gives your eye a little bit of something else to kind of look at there. We'll do one more, maybe up there. Okay, and you can kind of adjust, you know, do that much for now, and if you get down to where you're at the end and you see, you know, some kind of vacancy spot that's driving you nuts, then you can go in and tap in and, you know, add a little bit more. So now we're gonna go ahead and close that coastal. We're gonna come in and we're gonna open our Granny Apple Green, and we're gonna grab the little 2-leaf image. Now I've mounted mine on an end, so I'm gonna flip my pad around so that I'm reaching just here to the corner. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to avoid some of the overspray when you get all that like out there in the center of the ink pad. And I don't know if that's a word, but, and then we're just gonna come around here and just kind of rotate. You know, it's easier to rotate the paper than it is to rotate the stamp in your hand. So we're just kind of filling in where we have some white. We have a little bit more color to still come. So let's see, we have any naked flowers that don't have leaves? Okay, we can always put a little bit of green coming off that corner there. So that kind of gives us this panel. And then we'll clean that. We'll close off our Granny Apple. And we will pull our little tiny flowers and bring back in our Memento Black. This Memento Black is basically just a filler. Again, I've stamped, signed that, set it up in the corner. And so here I'm just gonna kind of tap in where I have a little bit of white space and just create a little bit more visual interest by adding some of that black. It really makes the card pop. So let's go ahead and see what we have. Imagine our focal layer kind of coming down in here and see if we have any gaps for color. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tap over here on the side. Sorry for the interruption. My daughter just got home from California, so she's saying hello. So we'll go ahead and just check that, see how we like it. I think I'm gonna put one up there, and then I'm gonna stop. Tempted to put one over here, but let's just see. We've got ribbon and other things that are gonna come. So we'll go ahead and tap that off, and that's kind of what my page looks like so far in preparation for becoming this. So we've stamped with everything, and then on your white, you're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use a scrap because it's in front of me, so feel free, if you have little tiny scraps, you can grab one, but otherwise you have plenty of white on your panel that you got. So I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna stamp with my You Make Me, and I'm gonna kind of come down towards the bottom edge. And we will stamp our greeting. And then we are gonna run. So let's see, I've got to do two things. So on here with my greeting, I'm just going to come in here and kind of trim it off. So I would say maybe 2 1/4 is a good size. And then I'm probably going to go 3/4 feels like too much. So I'm going to line right up here on this little paper trimmer. And that gives us about a 1/2 inch, roughly. And if you feel like you need a little smidge off the other end, you can just flop that back in there, give it another little trim. You can also, this was an incentive gift a couple of years ago, and as demonstrators, we could purchase one. So that's where that little trimmer came from. I'm sorry it's not currently available as an item. And then we're gonna come in and just cut up to the center towards our letters, and then do a little V cut and cut out and make little flag tag ends. I'm not really sure what the proper term is, but we kind of call it a flag tag. And we'll just do that manually on both. It doesn't matter, there's going to be enough going on, so don't worry if you don't get them straight. You can just discard those little wrappers. And then I have my, it's probably not going to show very well, so I'm just going to flip the camera for a second. And I have my big Stamp Emboss and Cut machine. So I am going to run that through our flower. So let me go ahead, pop my sides down. And it's, my camera is set too low so that it would be close for you for stamping, for me to be able to run this through and have you actually see it. But hopefully you're familiar with a die cut machine. So we're just going to build our platform, and then we're going to go ahead here and stick our flower in. And I'm going to set it out here for a second to see if I can get it a little bit closer. And then you just simply turn this die until you feel like it matches up around the shape of your flowers. Usually once you find it, it's fairly obvious. So there's how that lines up. Oops, I just dropped my panel. So let me go ahead, get this over here in the machine. And I coulda, shoulda, woulda had one ready, but I thought, no, you need to show them how to do it. And I was gonna try to maybe get the mini machine, but for as low as my camera was, neither one of them fit under the desktop mount. So let me slide that back just a notch. Kind of wiggled. We don't have the magnetic die plate yet for this one. Manufacturer's still kind of working out a little kink. We tend to use them too much, and we kind of wore it out a little too soon. So they're working on a replacement. So hopefully sometime this year we'll get the replacement magnetic platform for it. But for now, you can just, for most part, it'll work its way without it, or you can use a little washi or the non-permanent little tape to hold it down if it seems to really be wanting to slide around on you. So let's see, I think we're done with our ink pads. We've got our die there, so we want to go ahead and set that in a little dish. Get yourself a little magnetic dish, and they'll stick to it. And then we want to grab our bone folder. we're gonna come in here. Let me get some of this out of the way for you. And we're just gonna, it's scored, so you're gonna kind of bring that over, get those ends tight, and then just start in the middle and go edge to edge, give yourself a nice crease. I'm done stamping, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that piercing mat out from under so that everything will lay flat. On here, this is cut just an 1/8 inch because I wanted that little tiny pop of black. So be ready that that's not gonna be, don't line up with your adhesive to do like a big 1/4 inch border, because it's not gonna be that. It's gonna be just a smidgen in there. It's an 1/8 inch frame. And let me get my brand new seal working here. So with these, they're the new ones. They replaced the snail, and the fast fuse is gone a while ago. So you just kind of want to have kind of a light touch, and it says you don't really need to do that whole like check mark technique that we always are, you know, used to doing. So just be gentle with it. Lighter touch is better. And then you're just going to kind of come over here and get these 3 corners, and then just sort of hover and make sure that that 4th corner looks good. Press that down, and then we've got our die cut. And so now we're just going to build basically our focal point here. So that's this whole thing. So we have our die cut, and then we're going to build from there. And let's see. So we've got these leaves, and I went black so that you could change and use any color inks in the back there. So we can just put, this is going to mount flat under the flower. So I've just put a little tiny streak of adhesive there, and I kind of want to, I can bend this a little without cutting it, you know, tearing it. And I'm going to have a little bit of my leaf come off the edge here, some go off to the top, and then this one kind of shoots out the right, just out the angle of this corner. Okay, so corner, corner, and then off to the left. And then we're going to have our flower, and we're going to go ahead and put a little adhesive here in the center. And we've got these little rings, and then this I die cut. They're just going to come in here, and that's going to mount flat. And then probably easiest, oops, I just knocked over a lamp, sorry. To grab a mini glue dot under the center of this, and then you can just either use some tweezers, or I'm just going to take my snips in here and kind of scooch that back up. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that one down over the center. Same thing here, we've got this little baby of a white flower, and it's just bigger than the mini glue dot. So we'll go ahead back under there, grab that. And this is all optional, but you did get black gem dots. So in order to put one of those over the top, I added the white there. Now I have a couple of open packets, so I'm just gonna go ahead, and you can kind of, since this is on clear, you can kind of see like what would the small look like, or do I want to use the big? And so I kind of like the big in the center of this. Plus that flower is really our focal point. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab some dimensionals. Now for the most part, this whole flower, pretty much all of it is in the top left corner of our die cut. So you can load that up with, you know, 2 or 3, 3 or 4, however many, that still cures it for you. And then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to, you know, put this down. Kind of leave a little bit of our leaves all showing. That might be a little bit too high there. Let's see, we'll go kind of like that. Because we've still got our greeting. And what I've done now that I've got my, you know, focal point on there is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my greeting, which we still have a bow, so I'm going to leave this section for the bow down here. My greeting is going to go here. So I think I'm going to take just a little tiny slice off of that. And so we're going to go like that. So I'm going to stick a dimensional right there next to it, and then I can just secure my greeting kind of going over. I was trying not to get in too much of the, okay. So that is the first of those. Keep those out. We'll add a few more. And then we are gonna put dimensionals on the back side of our little die cut. So on here, I'm probably gonna do one on each end, in each curve, and one in the center so nothing is saggy. And then we will go ahead, pull the backings off. We can pull our panel in. Now you could lay this panel straight on your card right now, and it would probably be easier. We aren't wrapping any ribbon around it or anything, so probably easiest just to lay it flat and go ahead and, oops, got a little extra there, little string, and then add some there. And now with this, you do have a wide enough border, so you just kind of want to lay it where you can see before you touch, just sort of eyeball to center. Press that nice and flat. And then now we have the dimensional backings off of our main focal point. So here I wanted to just be like, you make me happy. Now, if this is driving you nuts, presto, come in here and just snip that little tiny tag end off. You can kind of put this at an angle if you don't want to cover any. You can go straight across if you want, but I kind of like the, oops, I dropped it down now. I wanted mine to go just a slight angle. And then now you can kind of see like where your spots are. And it should be busy enough that it's filled in. Unless you really have a naked spot, I wouldn't go back in and add any more stamping. So let's see. We will take from our spool, pull out maybe 10 or 12 inches. I am right-handed, so I'm gonna hold it in my right, and I'm gonna come up with about 3 inches, whatever that is. I'm gonna make my loop. I'm gonna pull from the spool. This is gonna come up, around, hold with your thumb, and now you're gonna just use your middle finger there to pinch and push that second side through the loop. And now you're gonna pull it a little bit tight there, but then kind of hold on to the back side of this ribbon, and then you're gonna pull your bow tight to the knot. And then you can do the same until you get them sized, and you can kind of see if you need to pull on the top half of the ribbon or the bottom. Just be gentle as you pull. You don't want to fray it unless you're going for that look, then it's okay. And then the same thing, there's always one side that will give and one side that will be tight. And then you can kind of just play and pull those down. And then you're gonna have your ribbon scissors, and you can cut whichever angle you like. And so I'll show you the other cards and some other things that you can do with it. One of the things that I typically do is, yeah, you can always put one under the knot and just push that flat to try to mush that in. If you really want this bow to stay in its spot, come a little bit left of the knot, and the thicker the ribbon, I usually add more than one dimensional or one glue dot. So now you've got 3 places that are securing that bow. Your little legs up here are still pretty free. You can kind of move them however you want. But now you've got that, and now you just come in and decide where you might want to place. And remember, you've got big and little. So wherever you think it might be fun to pop a couple. You've got one here, one, so like these 3 are kind of in a triangle. And so now I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna pull down here. And then that will kind of give me a second focal triangle. So I've got from this to the center here, and then I've got this to these. So that makes kind of 3. And I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they say kind of, you know, sometimes an odd is good. So you would either use an odd, or I sometimes use 6, which is 2 odds, which does make it even. But if I'm like using different colors or different sizes, sometimes I might do 3 of this and then 3 of that, just to whatever feels good. You've got plenty of matte dots on there to use up. So hopefully you have plenty to play with. So this was card number 1. This was the designed featured card. All of the supplies are based off of this card. So now if you come in here and you simply change the colors, this is the new polished pink. Okay, I'm gonna flip this over so that those extra colors aren't in your way. So look at how different that looks just by going from blues to pinks. Couple of things different here, big floral in the background with the medium floral. So I've changed up my stamps. You've bought the stamp set if you're using it for this class, so you might as well mount as many pieces as you want. So we've used the big one. We've went ahead and done flat stamping to the center instead of all of this. You can save those pieces for later. We did happy and birthday, and I just connected the birthday over to the side instead of making it be part of the tag. It felt like it flowed better with the word. But you could just hang it off the tag here and have the word, you know, closer to where this is going to be. On this one, these panels are the same exact thing. I've just changed the orientation of the card. We still have our tag. We still have our big floral. We did not use this black here, but we did do some stamping on white. And this is overstamped, so you would have stamped one leaf and then stamped the second one right over it, and then fussy cut those out, and you have the 2 leaves connected here. Everything is still raised up on the same little white die cut. On this one, we went around the black and white panel after it was stamped and tied in a bow. This one's just a bow glue dotted on. Same elements, same basic design. We've got florals and we've got some splatter dots in between, and then we've got some embellishments. Okay, and then the third one, I went ahead and trimmed these white and black panels down just a little bit, and then I went ahead and added a multi-colors is what I was trying to say. So I've still got my pink in here, I've still got my coastal in here, still got my granny apple, but I added a 4th color, which sort of sets you outside your 3. And I added the mango. And so I used the tag here for Happy Mail. And then we added the other greetings, sending lots of Happy Mail. So here we've added a couple of the pieces. Now, if you bought the die set, you can do this. I sent you these. So if you didn't buy the dies, then maybe do a second big one. And if you didn't use a piece of that layer here, then you could put 2 on this card. Basically stamped across the diagonal. Just kind of varied some big focal items, kept my blue, and then popped the yellow and the green kind of into the empty spaces. Again, used a little bit different. This is the same image that was stamped in black over this, but now it's completely different, used as a filler. Used the open floral. Again, this is all flat to the card, flat stamping. These are glue dotted down. You've got big and little gems. This is dimensionaled up. And then I just took 2 pieces of the ribbon and tied them in a knot and pulled so that you just have 2 in a knot. And so this is knotted on. The 2 gives a completely different look because it makes it fluffier. And if you cut the little angles at different angles, it gives you a little more, you know, like fluff kind of going on there. So that is 2 of the alternate ideas. And again, these don't really require anything other than what I sent you. The last card, when I stamped the big floral, regardless of color, I did not do it for you on camera, but when I stamp for myself something like that, I stamped first impression and second impression. First impression ink, second impression ink. Look how pretty those pastels are. Look how pretty they are just stamped off. So on this one, we still have our white with our black. I did run this white layer through the die cut machine with the embossing folder. It's the same embossing folder that I offered as an add-on. Oh, you're gonna make me think of what it is. I think it's dots and checks, but you can check that supply list out. It'll be in there. Again, we used the same tag, did the little birthday mail for you, added in this feature here with this is one step in the green, and then you add the second color for the little like part of the bouquet. Again, just some single leaves, stamped off. And then I took my ribbon, wrapped it around first, tied in just a single knot. So you can see the difference between that 2 layers of fluff here, plus this is really pretty ribbon with all that sparkle in it. I don't know if you can see it from down there, but it's really pretty. Got a lot of glitter going on. So anyhow, this is the same orientation as this card. You have the texture in the background, not as much stamping. We used our second impression inks for our florals. We used our centers, and we still used our tag, and we added our ribbon. We did not use the big black leaf pattern on this one. I felt like it was a little bit strong. Plus I wanted to use the 2 colors there. So just didn't feel like I had room for it. I guess I could have put it under this tag, but I felt like it might be a little hidden. And I really liked that little pop of green in there. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed our little walkthrough of the Pretty Perennials and the Stamp-A-Stack. So I've given you the full set to be able to do the one card and layout, and then I've given you some alternate ideas for some other options. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll join me again in the future for another class. I thank you for your support of my business and doing classes with me. So I appreciate you, and I just want to say thank you, and I will see you next time.